Today, Governor Walz signed Executive Orders 20-14, 20-15, 20-16, and 20-17 to further strengthen Minnesota's response to the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. These executive orders suspend evictions during the peacetime emergency, also establish peacetime emergency loans for affected small businesses, direct all non-hospital entities to conduct an inventory of their personal protective equipment, or PPE, while also clarifying that previously signed Executive Order 20-09 in relation to elective surgeries and procedures will also apply to the veterinarian profession. Providing housing stability for Minnesota families at a time of financial uncertainty, Governor Walz signed Executive Order today 20-14 to suspend any eviction proceedings during the COVID-19 peacetime emergency. A loss of housing would be a catastrophic event at any time, and during the COVID-19 pandemic, this loss not only endangers the health, but also the well-being of all of our Minnesotans. This order does clarify, though, that tenants who can continue to pay rent during the peacetime emergency should continue to do so. Landlords and financial institutions may not begin eviction proceedings that would remove a tenant from their current stable housing. Governor Walz signed Executive Order 20-15 to authorize that the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development, also known as DEED, will establish a small business emergency loan program for any small businesses affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Minnesota's small businesses and independent contractors are among the worst hit by the pandemic. DEED's emergency loan program will help Minnesota's small business owners who need immediate assistance during the COVID-19 coronavirus closures. As hospitals and healthcare providers report shortages of personal protective equipment, or PPE, Governor Walz has signed the Executive Order of 20-16 that is directing all non-hospital entities to conduct an inventory of their PPE, personal protective equipment, including ventilators, respirators, anesthesia machines, and report their results to the state. They may be asked to either donate such equipment to a local coordinating entity or preserve it. On Saturday, Governor Walz directed the National Guard to transport PPE from a storage at Camp Riley, bringing it to the Minnesota Department of Health, MDH. Lastly, Governor Walz signed Executive Order 20-17 in an effort to clarify that previous Executive Order 20-09 that orders all elective surgeries and procedures to be postponed will now also apply to any veterinary surgeries and procedures. This is done specifically in an effort to conserve protective equipment. Surgeries and procedures that prevent loss of life, permanent dysfunction of an organ or extremity, or risk of metastasis, or the progression of staging for non-COVID-19 patients should not be postponed under this executive order. Additionally, in the context of veterinary medicine, threats to the public health, the owner, or the animal itself may also be considered. Executive Orders 20-14, 20-15, and 20-17 are subject to approval by the Executive Council and will have the full force and effect of law upon approval. Also today, the Governor and Lieutenant Governor announced a revised supplemental budget. This will allocate an additional $356 million towards our state's COVID-19 response. The revised budget would support and protect Minnesotans during this COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. It would provide emergency grants to child care centers, support families struggling financially through our Minnesota Family Investment Program, or MFIP. Also supporting veterans and their families who may be facing financial burdens. Increase funding for our food shelves, offer small business loans, and increase the resources for Minnesotans who are struggling with homelessness. The budget would also create a COVID-19 Minnesota Fund that would give the state government the resources that are necessary to deploy any resources and respond to the needs of our Minnesotans in real time. In the original proposal, the governor and lieutenant governor recommended paying back $491 million to the budget reserve and funding investments in order to prepare for emergencies, including Minnesota's response for the current COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. The revised budget proposal will leave $811 million on the bottom line.